So here's something I want to talk about that's different. So somebody mentioned earlier, yes, up until the judge says guilty, remember it's your house. They merely have a lien. The only time that lien, which is a future interest in ownership, only becomes actual ownership is when you fail to make that IOU whole. You can, up until that date, make that whole. There is a term up until the date of the court that you can pay off. What's the word we've been using for money? Equity, right? That's one of them. You have the equitable right of redemption. Equitable means fair, by the way. It also means money. So if I owe 110 grand and I'm 18 months behind, and I've got court coming up in March, and they've already told me, hey, but I hit the lottery today. I can walk into my bank and go, what do I owe you? Well, you owe 110 plus 12,000 in late fees. Boom, 122. I've paid off my lien. I'm out of that court deal. Because under the equitable right of redemption, I get to pay off what I owe. And I get to pay that off up until the time that the date of the court. So equitable right means before. Now, there is another law. It is another law, and the word for law is statutory. There is a statutory right of redemption, which says for 365 days after the sale, I have a law that says I can go back and pay my money that I owe and get my house back. All right? Because it's a law, it's called statutory right of redemption. Are we good? Now, what I want is for all you guys in the room to be looking at me when I say this, because I want you to know that I hear it. If you're driving or listening to me, stop and look at me. Indiana does not practice this law. Indiana does not practice the statutory right of redemption. Once your property goes to a sheriff's sale, it's gone. All right? I had a guy call me and said, hey, I think my house went to sheriff's sale last week. Is there anything I can do? Yeah, pack. Because you're done. All right?
Is there ever going to be a time where somebody refuses to leave the property?
They refuse to what?
Leave the property.
If they refuse to leave the property, there are people that have tried.
Like I've seen houses for sale.
You remember David Koresh?
Testifies that the people who are living there won't leave. So
Yes, they will. The sheriff will show up and take them out. They can say they're not going to leave, but like I said, remember David Koresh in Waco, where they ended up killing everybody and burning them and getting them out? Same concept. They're a little different because they were a cult, but point is, yeah, the sheriff will show up with the constable, and they will go in and arrest everybody and take them out if they don't leave. That was not a mortgage deal. No, but how about Tony Kritzis? Are you guys too young to remember that? That was a mortgage deal where, remember where he strapped the shotgun to the guy's head and walked him from downtown Indianapolis all the way out to, no, it was Tony Kritzis and Hill. The guy's name was Hill. That was a mortgage, that was a title rep or a mortgage guy and a real estate developer here in Indianapolis. Yeah. He tried to buy a property, they wouldn't give him a loan. And then the mortgage guy went and bought the property out from under him. And he got mad. He went into the mortgage company, took him hostage, wired the shotgun to his wrist, and then the other end of the shotgun around the guy's neck for like 3 days. and walked. It was national news. What was it, late 70s? They walked from like the circle all the way out to High School Road with him strapped to that guy's head and his name was Robert Hall, something like that. Guy ended up doing time, and they got him in Central States. They talked him off the cliff, and nobody was eventually nobody got hurt physically. But yeah, that was a mortgage deal that went bad here in Indianapolis. All right, now what I want to do, I want to jump ahead, way ahead in a couple other chapters because I want to talk about something, because right now is the perfect time, and when we get to that one, we'll talk about this. Because this is the sheriff's sale. We also have this thing called a tax sale. If you don't pay your real estate taxes, you go to the tax sale. The sheriff's sale is because of a creditor. The tax sale is because you haven't paid the government. All right? In that particular case, watch out, Miguel. I know, but it's funner. It's more fun to throw it at her. In the tax sale, up until the day of the tax sale, you have the, guess what it's called? You have the equitable right of redemption. It's empty. Throw it away. Yeah. Equitable right of redemption. You can go in and pay the amount of outstanding taxes that you owe and take you out of the tax sale. One, because that's the amount of money and it's fair. That's what equitable means. Then they sell your house to the tax at the tax sale. Well, technically, it's a tax lien sale. You are buying a lien. And what's a lien? It's a future interest in ownership. So they have this law in the tax lien sale called the statutory right of redemption for 365 days. Indiana does practice this law for tax liens. So if your house gets sold at the tax lien sale, you still got a year. You can go, doop, my bad. How much did I owe? And get my house back. Same law. Equitable right of redemption for the sheriff's sale and equitable right of redemption for the tax lien sale.
So with both of those cases, you can take the house back from whoever bought it up to a year after if you correct.
You don't take them back. They never get possession till after that 1 year. All right? Hold on. Let me finish this thought. In the statutory right of possession gives you the right after 1 year or up to 1 year to take the interest and the ownership back. But we do not practice this law in Indiana for foreclosure. Once the house goes to sheriff's sale, it's gone. Tax lien sale, yes, we still live in the property for a year. Whoever bought the lien is a future interest, remember? It's not actual ownership. All they did was take the state out. Hey, here's your money, state. I take your place in line. And at 1 year, now I get ownership, and that person leaves. And if they don't leave, you go to court, you get the constable will show up and arrest them, handcuff them, and take them out. All right? You in the back, any questions?
No, I'm just listening. Can't think of anybody else better to learn from.
So in theory, at a statutory right of redemption state, or actually at foreclosure state, let's say that bank, you owe $100,000 to the bank, goes up to sheriff's sale, your property is only worth $50,000. No one's going to pay $100,000 for that. So at an auction.
Right.
So is the beginning bid $100,000 and you have to?
So the question is, what's the opening bid by the bank at the sheriff's sale, right? The answer is, who knows?
Okay.
All right? We don't know.
No minimum reserve.
There will be a minimum reserve set by the bank.
Okay.
What that minimum reserve is, we don't know, and how it affiliates. Some banks will say, Raymond foreclosed on us, or we foreclosed on him for 100, we want our 100. Some bankers say, you know what, we're willing to take 80 to save a bunch of time, we'll take 80. Whatever that reserve is, there's no logic, rhyme, nor reason, nor will you ever find out. When you go in, they say that's the minimum opening bid, that's what it is. Where that number comes from, all right, we don't know.
Tax sale money. Say I buy this land, I buy this interest in this house, they
Yes.
What happens to my money if
You get,
no, of course, but with any interest, that's what I'm asking.
yeah.
You get any juice on it?
If you go,
Interest, I'm sorry.
what's the vig on the game? What's the over-under? Can we get some juice? Because we got to hit the spread. And if we don't, we're going to send Guido over. Do you get any juice on it? I think that speaks a little to maybe your youth growing up, what you were doing.
Yeah, well, when I was younger.
Okay. Yes, the answer is yes. In the tax sale, because they live there for a year, they will come back and reimburse you. If you bought the lien, and for them to exercise their statutory right, they have to pay you back. And interest. And the interest, by statute, is like 12% the first 6 months and could be as high as 18% on the last 6 months. So you are guaranteed by state statute to earn at least 12% on your money. Now here's the problem. It's an auction. So if the outstanding, let's say the outstanding taxes are $200,000 on a house on Geist, goes to auction. Would you pay $200,000 for a house on Geist? Would you pay $250,000? $300,000? $400,000? You wouldn't pay $400,000 for a $900,000 house sitting on Geist? So can I get $400,000? $500,000? See, now here's the problem. He pays $500,000 for it and he wins the auction. The outstanding taxes were only $200,000. When the guy reimburses him or exercises his statutory right, I'm only paying taxes on the $200,000. The other $300,000 that was over that comes back to him, but no interest got earned on it. So what you end up saying is, okay, what's 18% of $200,000? It's 36 grand, right? But he made 36 grand on 500,000 because he lost all the use of that. So now you're down to 3%. So the key to buying tax liens is to buy it, go into a property that you know will be redeemed, but it's not going to go into a bidding war. Because if it goes into a bidding war, now the problem is I have to give all the money, but I'm only going to earn taxes. I'm only going to earn juice, what the outstanding bill was, not what I paid. All right? So therein lies the problem. There are companies I know. There used to be a guy named Edward Light that worked for Lilly. He would take the Lilly's retirement fund and go buy tax certs because he's guaranteed 12%. Worst case scenario, they take the house, and Lilly's had their own real estate division where they would sell the house. Worst case, and then all that money goes into the retirement fund. So they were making 12% on their retirement fund because he'd show up to the tax sale with $2 or $3 million and just start buying things because he didn't really care. It is very smart. There are a lot of people that do that. But in that scenario, they have a statutory right of redemption. In the foreclosure scenario, that law exists. We don't use it. Arizona uses it. But here's the kicker. Get this. Arizona allows you to reclaim your house that got foreclosed on. All you have to do is show an intention that you want to rebuy it and put a bond up for twice the amount of the value of the house. McFly, hello. If I could put bond up for twice the value of the house, I could have just paid for the house. But they have the law. They exercise the law. We don't here in Indiana.
So the tax sale, I like that example, he'd have to pay me, the owner would have to pay me $500,000.
No, the owner would, you would get.
The state would give me back my $300,000.
The state would give you $500,000 back, plus the interest earned on the $200,000, because that's what you covered. So the other $300,000 you would virtually have lost the use of for a year and gain no interest. So when you do the effective interest of 36 grand versus the $500,000 you lost the use of, you know, what are you, 5% return? Something like that.
But so the state holds the money.
The state holds the money in an account, which they may earn interest on, but you don't. You know they're earning interest on your money. Now there is a thing called a short sale. Instead of going to court, you could call the bank and go, look, I owe you $100,000. The house is a POS. You guys know what a POS house is, right? Yeah, we got it. and I'll never repay. I lost my job. But I have a buyer that's willing to give you now $90,000. Will you take it? And then the bank makes a decision based on, well, I got to go to court. We got to hire an attorney. It's going to take 8 months. It could be tore up. We're going to foreclose on Raymond. He probably doesn't have the money because he's already told me he lost his job. Let's go ahead and take the 90 today and call it even. So the bank took short of what they owed. The problem is it's a very long process and a very hard process. Eli's going through one right now. Are you not?
Yep, got it, both sides of it.
Yeah. You've got to prove to the bank that your client is not eligible for the loan they already gave him. Boy, were you stupid. Let me show you my real numbers. And the house isn't worth money. Because if the house is worth the money, they'll just say, well, we'll foreclose on you, take sheriff's sale and sell it and get all the money. So you actually have to prove I can't pay the loan, and the house isn't probably worth what is owed on it. All right? And if you remember back a couple days ago when we talked about contingencies, one of the contingencies we talked about was a lender approval contingency. This is what you would say. Hey, I'll offer you $90,000, but we're selling it contingent upon the approval of the lender. I may say yes as the owner, but the bank's got to take the hit, so we got to get their approval to do that. Now we're really long, so I'm going to stop the audio and stay on this file, but let me stop and change the audio.